Welcome back to The Fever, everyone, and it's time for that part of the show that you're looking forward to. George and his picks for the upcoming week. Let's start with Thursday night out at Littlefield. George, Odessa taking on Coronado. Mustangs need to get a big win in this one, but it's going to be tough against an Odessa team like this.
Yeah, I think Odessa kind of got things rolling pretty good last week against Lubbock High after losing that first week, and and Coronado, like we said, is still struggling on offense. It'll be interesting to see if Coronado can kind of make the adjustments. The thing that Coronado's doing really well right now, even though they're only 1-1, is they are playing well defensively. It might not have showed it last week against Amarillo, but they are playing well, a lot better defensively than they did last year. So they'll kind of need that defensive effort against Odessa. See if their playmakers can make it. I just don't know right now if they have enough offense to be able to keep up with Odessa. I think the Broncos come in on the road, and I think they come into Lowry and get a win over the Mustangs.
All right, Midland Lee coming in to take on Lubbock High at Littlefield on Friday night. It's a return to James Morton to the South Plains. How's this going to turn out? Because he's got those Rebels rolling right now.
He does. It was a big turnaround for Midland Lee and for Coach Morton. They started the year with that 52-20 loss to Colleyville Heritage, gave up more than 600 yards of offense, which both you and I know, didn't sit well with James Morton, and it really looked like they were kind of headed the same route. This past week, they played Midland, and Midland had, I think, if I'm not mistaken, about 400 yards of offense. So the average is not really good right now for Midland Lee, but they were able to come back in the second half and get a big win over Midland. They'll come in with some momentum and come in against Lubbock High. And one thing we know that James Morton knows how to play Lubbock High. I think, defensively, I think, Midland Lee will improve. We'll see how they do against Lubbock High. I think this is going to be a close game. I don't know if it's going to be a high-scoring game or not, but I think it's going to be a close game. In the end, though, I think Midland Lee has just barely more than Lubbock High. I think Midland Lee gets the win.
All right, Coach Pearson and the Monterey Plains are going to be looking to bounce back from that loss to Tascosa last week. Unfortunately, they have the Panthers and Gary Gaines this week.
It's interesting. I've kind of watched Permian's first two games under Coach Gaines, and I don't know if it's just they're having trouble adjusting offensively and defensively, or maybe there's a talent void right there or something. Maybe that's why Darren Allman left. I don't know, but they really haven't been that impressive in their wins. I mean, it was only a 7-0 game against a Central team, which quite honestly is not a very good team right now, and that was a 7-0 game at half. They really came on in the second half, so it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of get things going against Monterey. If Permian gets a lead, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, if Permian gets a lead, I think it's going to be tough for Monterey to kind of come back. They've got to start finding some things offensively, getting some things going in the passing game. But I think just go on the road, I think it's too tough. I think Permian gets the win this week.
All right, District 4-4A Friendship taking on Abilene-Wiley. We've seen what the Tigers can do. We've talked about the problems they've had and some of the depth that obviously they've got some depth on that team, but they're going to get really tested in this one against Abilene-Wiley.
Yeah, they are. This has kind of really become a big non-district rivalry between these two teams. It's been a really good game the last few years when they've hooked up. I talked with Brad Davis yesterday over at Friendship, and talking about playing Wiley. They're ranked, if I'm not mistaken, number 6 in the state right now in Class 3A. He said this may be the best Wiley team that Hugh Sandifer has had out there, and the state ranking really kind of shows that. It's going to be it's a really good, tough test for these Friendship kids. A lot of them playing their first game of the season on the road, so we'll see how it goes. Given the talent levels and everything, I like the way Friendship's playing. I like the confidence the way they're playing. I think Friendship goes on the road, goes to Wiley. Wiley didn't play last week because of the storms. I think Friendship goes in and gets the win.
All right, Estacado, another team we've been talking a bunch about. Obviously, Deverick Stubblefield and Coach Danny Cervance got this team going on the right track now, but they're going to have to go on the road for the first time, taking on Midland Greenwood. Yeah,
another good road test for a team with a lot of young players. But I like the way Estacado played. I didn't think they played that badly against Hereford in the first week. They just kind of had to correct some mistakes. They came out and they really corrected those mistakes in the second week against Pampa. Now they go and play a 3A Midland Greenwood team, which, quite honestly, talent level, they are better than. So I think they should go on the road. If they play with the confidence and the ability that they showed against Pampa, they'll go on the road and beat Midland Greenwood. I like the Matadors in this one.
All right, Mules taking on Lubbock Cooper, and Cooper's, of course, struggled these first 2 weeks. Mules looking to keep that unbeaten streak going with the Mules there and Coach David Wood. I was at this game last year when it was played in Mules. Obviously, it was a Cooper team with some heavy hearts. Might be a little bit different this year, but I think it'll still be a tough test for Cooper, obviously.
I think it will be. I think this is a crucial game for Cooper. They started 0-2, and they talked about how much they wanted to start off and play well in the non-district. They've had a tough schedule. They opened with a very tough Bushland team, which is ranked number 3 in 2A. turn around and play a Snyder team, which they've always had some struggles with. Now they come up and play a Mules team, which is ranked 7th in the state. So, nobody can fault John Wyndham for playing an easy schedule. He's played a very tough schedule. I just don't know if they're going to have enough. Again, they made some good improvements from week 0 to week 1. They need to continue those improvements, but they also need to find a passing game, because you and I both know Mules is going to put up some points. I think Mules comes on the road. I think it's just a little too much for Cooper. I like the Mules in this one.
All right, Littlefield taking on Brownfield in our next game, and can the Wildcats keep warming up, keep this roll going before they get into District 3 2A play?
The Littlefield is another interesting story. They've been traditionally a running team as well, but you've got a quarterback named Huseman right now, so obviously they're going to throw. I think they're going to throw the ball a little bit. They have been the first 2 weeks, and they've played a tough schedule. They played a very tough Friona team. I think Friona might be one of the more underrated Panhandle teams, in our area, going into the season. And talking with Coach Huseman last week, he said that up front they're just big and very physical, and just kind of had their way with them with Littlefield at times. But I think Littlefield is going to bounce back this week. With Brownfield coming in, Brownfield is struggling, or actually going to Brownfield, excuse me. Brownfield has struggled out to an 0-2 start. I think Littlefield just has a little bit too much. I like the Wildcats to bounce back and get the win in this one.
Now, you mentioned it to me earlier with this next game, New Deal taking on Nazareth, and saw some big plays from a player for New Deal last week.
Yeah, a lot of big plays from New Deal. They looks like they've got some depth, but one of the kids to keep your eye on when you're talking about New Deal, going into the season is a guy that's already a Division I commitment, and Stephen Bryant, their quarterback, big physical kid, about 6'4", 215. Just looks the part out there, and he had a big game this past week against Tulia, 62-0. He rushed for 5 touchdowns, back there at quarterback. So looks like with him, with Larry Dennis out there at running back, looks like they've got a great 1-2 punch there with New Deal. I like New Deal to go in. They're playing the Nazareth team, which is coming off a loss to Olton, which makes me think when New Deal and Olton get together, that's one we're going to have to watch down the road. But for this week, I think New Deal goes into Nazareth, gets the win. I like the Lions in this one.
All right, Georgia's picks for week 2: Odessa over Coronado, Midland Lee over Lubbock High, Odessa Permian against Monterey, Friendship over Abilene-Wiley, Estacado over Midland Greenwood, Mules over Cooper, Littlefield over Brownfield, and New Deal over Nazareth. Okay, that's all the time we got this week. Be sure to tune in right here to LISD TV for Friday Night Football this week. For George Watson, I'm Travis Cram. We'll see you next week. Catch the fever.